Nope. I do not feel like the rest of y'all that feel like Apple Vision Pro is going to be the next great thing in computing technology. Listen, I have used things like Samsung Gear VR. I have used the Meta Quest of the world. And to me, Apple Vision Pro is nothing more than a glorified Meta Quest 2. But I am definitely open to having my mind changed. So what I did was I went out and I asked a friend of mine who is a tech industry insider who's had hands-on experience wearing an Apple Vision Pro to come talk to the man about tech, the captain of Team Apple, about her experience. So let's get into it. What's up, people? This your boy Viper, the man about tech, back again for the video. And yes, I went out and I invited somebody to come change my mind about how I feel about the Apple Vision Pro and how I am not excited. So, monkeys in a truck, roll the clap. All right. So you all know that I am one of the biggest skeptics of Apple Vision Pro, but I had to go out and find a tech analyst, industry insider who's actually had hands-on time with the device. So let me introduce Carolina Milanesi of Creative Strategies. Hello there. How are you?
Hi, very well. Good to see you.
Now, Carolina, like I said, I have been one of the biggest skeptics of Vision Pro. I have an Oculus Quest 2 over here collecting dust. I haven't put it on my head in like probably almost a year. And when I saw the initial announcement for Apple Vision Pro, my thought process was, this is a lot like what's already out there between the Oculus Quest, the HTC Vive, VR headsets that we've seen time and time again for decades now. So I guess my first question to you is, how is Apple Vision Pro different, if it is different from what we already have out there, given that you've had time with the device?
Yeah. So first of all, let me say that I am a VR skeptic because I think that this will put things into perspective. And I went into the demo, which lasted about half an hour, with that mentality of like, okay, I am not really going to use this. It's probably going to be the one Apple device that I'm not going to be particularly excited about. And I walked away thinking that somebody spiked my drink because the experience was very different. And it's not because, so your point about we've had this before. Yes, we have. But it's one of those things where, you know, Apple has done this time and time again, getting into a market that has already players, has already devices in market, and comes out and does it better. And I think that's what, at the end of the day, what it is. And I think, you know, coming out with new use cases or a very different approach to it, it would make it harder for Apple and anyone else, to be honest with you, to really convince us that this is the next big thing. So coming out with, okay, we are doing some of the things that you've done before, but we do it much better, is really the thing. And there were a couple of things that struck me. One is the fact that you don't have any controllers. And so it was a very natural pinch movement that you do, but you didn't have, you know, I used HoloLens before where you had that pinch to select and do things, and it was very forced. So I joked at the time saying I still had PTSD from that. And so I was really going for it. And, you know, the Apple people were like, you don't have to, you kind of can put your hand on your lap as I was sitting on the sofa to do the demo and just do it. And it was immediate and it was selecting it always right. The other one is that basically from a UI perspective, it's kind of really like what you have on your iPhone. You have a bunch of icons and your eyes are tracked. And so you can look and select by just focusing on one icon and then doing the pinch to actually activate your selection. That was super quick and precise. And so that was the other thing. So from a usability perspective, that was the first thing that struck me. I was like, okay, this is easy. I don't have to learn and it's natural. And then the other thing was the clarity of the screen. There wasn't, you know, the field of use is not necessarily much bigger, but the pixels are making a big difference in your experience of whatever it is that you're looking at.
So I want to go back to the part that you said when you first used it, you came out feeling like somebody spiked your drink.
Yeah.
I think that's a very descriptive phrasing of that. So I guess I want to get a little bit more into that. Like, what was it about that experience that made you feel like somebody spiked your drink?
Just how good I felt about the whole experience. So first of all, the Vision Pro is extremely comfortable to wear. You realize after you take it off that there is some weight to it, but when you're wearing it, the weight is very well calibrated. So it didn't bother me. It's still not something that I think I would wear for more than maybe a couple of hours at the time. But nonetheless, it was comfortable. I didn't have to set up my play area like you do with the Quest, right? So that was the other thing. Because you have pass through that allows you to see your surrounding, you're not going to bump into things. That was the other part. So the put it on your head and start playing with it was simple. Setting up my eyes at the beginning was also very quick. So you do that and it's just done once and you're done kind of thing. And that took about 5 minutes. So the whole, experience of setting up was easy. The other one was that that really spoke to me. And I don't know if it's because I'm generally paranoid, but I was I remember doing a press conference in VR for Microsoft, and I was wearing, I think it was an HP device at the time in my office. So it's like I couldn't get any safer than that. And yet, when I entered the space, I ended up walking against the wall in a corner where I felt safe, like where I didn't have people coming close to me with the avatars. It is somewhat jarring, I think, still for some people to be in an environment like that. And what I love about Apple is that if you are fully immersed and say you walk towards me and start talking to me, you materialize. So my screen changes so that I can see you. And so immediately that opens up the opportunity for me to use this headset in an environment that is not just, my office or my home, but, maybe you are in a public place somewhere. I don't know if it's a library or whatever. And obviously now VR is very much still focused on gaming for the most part, some, health and fitness and things like that. But, Apple has linked it to the Mac. And so you have the ability to, which I think is very smart, because immediately you're thinking, okay, I'm spending $3,000, but I'm kind of getting a better PC experience to some extent, right? So there's a productivity piece to it.
Now, you said it's linked to a Mac. So do you have to have like a MacBook to use Vision Pro, or can it operate independently of the MacBook?
Yeah, so it's totally independent. All the compute is in the device, and then you have a pack that you wear, which is your battery. I don't think that for me that wasn't a big deal as far as how small it is and the fact that you have a wire attached to it. I was still pretty free to do what I wanted. The Mac is a plus. You don't have to. But you can. And so if you link it to your Mac, you basically have a much bigger screen for your Mac and productivity experience.
So you talked about it working with the Mac, but I'm curious, like, how does it work with your other Apple devices, like an iPhone or an iPad? Like, how does it link with those devices?
It doesn't have to be connected, but what it allows you to do is things that you're familiar with on your iPhone. So one of the things that, for instance, I did was a FaceTime call where the other person had an avatar, and it's the first time that I actually saw an avatar that actually looked like the person. So I was talking to somebody I knew. And although it wasn't perfect, so my brain could say, well, that doesn't really look like him, it was close enough for me to feel like I was talking to this person versus, what we have most times. Where is it like a memoji or an emoji or whatever, platform you're on? It kind of looks like you, but not really. So you have experiences like that. You have the ability already today to create content, and then you, with the iPhone, that then you can view with Vision Pro when Vision Pro would be ready, from a video perspective. So I think there are links between the devices, but not dependency, if that makes sense.
So In its current form, do you believe that Apple Vision Pro will ever reach mass adoption? Like, will it become the next iPhone, the next Apple Watch, the next AirPod?
No. And I'm very, I'm very certain of that for a couple of reasons. One is the price point, right?
Right.
It is still not for everybody. And the other one is there are limitations as to how long you can wear it for, how often you want to do that. To me, it's still a nice to have versus a must have over time, as I do expect Apple to do a cheaper model. The whole screen and the pass through is not necessary. Is a nice addition, but they could do the screen in a different way so that they bring the price down. So I think that as the price comes down and the value of the kind of applications that you can use with it increases, you will see a bigger market. Is it going to be as big as smartphones? I don't think so. It's just not for everybody. It is not something that you can do 24/7. And I think that plays a big role in how much money someone is prepared to spend. I get asked all the time, what's the next thing that is going to replace smartphones? And I don't think that, smartphones are going to go anywhere. I would say, definitely for the next 5 to 10 years.
Okay. So my last question to you is, how would you, as somebody who has had hands-on with the device, what would you say to me, a guy who feels like it's just what we already have out there?
I think the combination of the ease of use, the kind of a low learning setup period, the variety of content that Apple is going to serve. It was interesting. The demos that I had were very geared towards not just the Mac and adding that experience to your Mac, but very much inspirational or very emotive. That's the way I would put it. Experiences. So you had music. So I was put in a room next to Alicia Keys, who was giving a concert in a small piano bar setting.
Mm.
It was sport. So I was behind the goal. I was behind the net, the thing for the basketball. I was behind the pitchers at a baseball. So that idea of having the best seats in the house for sport and entertainment, I think is a big thing that Apple can play on. And I think the investment that you see in Apple put into TV now, especially around sports, is going to play a big role in what they're going to have to offer with Vision Pro. So that is a big thing. The productivity piece is another one. They're clearly going after the enterprise with that. And then I think that the last part is everything looks better. So even if you tried something else, that the clarity of the experience. I did a very silly experience where there was a T-Rex that was coming out of a wall and coming towards me, and he was actually smelling me as I was moving around the room. And obviously I know that the thing is not real, but my brain didn't quite feel that way. Like I was actually a little bit uneasy with the snorting right around me. So the level of fidelity, I guess, to the experience you're having. There was one only time where I felt sick, and it wasn't because of a VR experience. It is because I don't do well with heights, and I was on a basically I was climbing some kind of mountain. I can't remember what. And I looked down and I felt all of a sudden, I really felt like I was on that mountain looking down at the canyon. And that wasn't pleasant.
That would be unpleasant. So I just had another question that came to my mind.
Yeah.
Do you feel like Apple Vision Pro, the first iteration, do you feel like this is something that Apple can gradually like change the form factor? Because I feel like the biggest limitation right now is this big bulky headset. You even said it yourself. You're not wearing this thing for more than a couple of hours at a time. But do you feel like this is something that they can kind of change to like a form factor, like a pair of glasses or something, and still get similar effect to what you experienced the first time out?
I do think that if you've been following Apple for a while, Tim Cook has always talked about AR having a bigger opportunity than VR. And with this device, you get somewhere in between, right? I do think that AR, if you tried the Meta glasses or anything like that, you see that I can wear the Meta glasses all day. I'm fine with that. And that is the ultimate goal, but doing AR is much harder than doing VR if you want to replicate the world. And so I do feel that this might be a stepping stone towards something that is going to evolve differently over time, to your point, to something that is smaller, but not just smaller and replicating the experience, because you can't do that, right? Part of the immersion is the fact that you don't see around you, that you're fully enclosed. But I do think that there's room definitely for something lighter that I can wear for longer and gives me a slightly different experience.
So, even after spending a few minutes with Carolina to talk about the Apple Vision Pro and how it made her feel, she doesn't even seem that convinced that it's going to be the next great market disruptor that a lot of y'all seem like it's going to be. But time will tell, and I may or may not go out and get one myself. I'm still debating whether or not I want to get one, but I kind of feel like if I go out there and get one, and if it's anything like the Meta Quest 2 that I already have, it's probably going to collect dust. But let me know, how do you feel about Apple Vision Pro? Do you think it's the next great thing in spatial computing technology like Apple is talking it up to be? Do you plan on getting your Apple Vision Pro? Drop a comment, let me know, and let's discuss a little further.